United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we thank you for today. Let me pray for Ukraine. Pray for the troops and the military families, Father God, and guide and direct our meeting. Thank you for today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Madam Clerk, we get a roll call.
Benel,
Present.
Gaunt, Honeycutt,
Here.
Kirkpatrick,
Yes, ma'am.
Lowry,
Here.
Neal,
Here.
Norris,
Here.
Trigg, Witcher.
You have the minutes before you of the Monday, February 14th, 2022 in front of you. If there's no deletions or additions, I'll accept the motion to accept the meeting, those minutes as printed. Have a motion by Kirkpatrick,
Second by Benel.
second by Manel. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Minutes pass. The next next item is minutes from our special call meeting, Friday, February the 18th, 2022. You also have those in front of you. Same procedure.
Motion, Norris.
Have a motion by Norris, second by Neal. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Passes. Before we have our first speaker, y'all asked me to make a resolution and give to Jim Gray, Secretary of Transportation, about the license procedure that Joe had spoke about. That night, we did make the resolution. I did give it to Jim Gray and talk to him in length, but that night, Chrissy Cole Fields had texted me and I called her and she verified, made the corrections on what was misunderstood. And she's here tonight to go in depth about that. But I did take the resolution to Jim and did talk to him for quite a while, and he said the same thing that Chrissy had told me the night before, so we know that this information is correct. So, Chrissy Cole, would you please come up here and field some questions or do a presentation, whatever fits?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to come tonight and speak to you about the changes that have taken place with the issuance of driver's license. I know that this is a big change for residents of Kentucky. We have been accustomed for many years, as long as I can remember and as long as I'm sure any of you can remember, you always went to the circuit clerk's office and obtained your driver's license. That is a function of the Kentucky Department of Transportation. It was a partnership between the Transportation Cabinet and the Administrative Office of the Courts. And so when the Real ID came about, in 2005, Congress passed the Real ID Act. And that was as a result of 9/11. As we all know, many things in our world has changed since 9/11. The way in which we do business in many factors. And this is one way that things changed. That started the ball rolling for the change for individuals to enter key places like airports, federal buildings, and some places that are very vulnerable, that may be a target. So therefore they were thinking that with stricter screenings, the Real ID has many safety, or not safety factors, but security features embedded within it that makes it much harder to duplicate or come up with a fraudulent ID. Kentucky was one of the states that lagged behind in this implementation due to many factors. One factor was the convoluted agreements that Kentucky had with the issuance of driver's license. Kentucky doesn't have a typical model that you see in other states. We don't have a DMV or a Department of Motor Vehicle model here in Kentucky. Kentucky's model involves two branches of government, the judicial branch and the executive branch. And that makes it very difficult because the clerks did not have any authority or ability to troubleshoot the issues that come along with driver's license. We had to rely on the Department of Transportation to push the buttons. We were just the face in front of it. And they attempted many times in the spring of 2019, and they launched two pilot projects with the issuance of the Real ID in Woodford and Franklin counties. Well, that went on for several months, and they quickly identified that there were staffing issues, that the clerk's office's constitutional duties of being the keeper of the records and all the court work was being pushed to the wayside, or to the side, because of the long lines, the extra accounting procedures that had to take place, and it was just quickly identified by the Department of Transportation that something kind of needed to change. So it has taken several years for Kentucky to get to this point. Think 2005, here it is 22, and we're just now getting to this. In 2016, there was legislation passed, but it was vetoed, and then another attempt in 2017. They found out that that legislation really didn't fit the bill or what they needed, so in 2020, the state, during the middle of COVID, understand that the Kentucky legislature passed House Bill 453, which made the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet the sole applicant and issuing entity for the operations of license and personal identification cards, while eliminating the requirements for these documents to be applied for in the county of residence. So it kind of, I know a lot of people would contact me and say, well, I work in Bowling Green, can I just go down there, go to the circuit clerk's office there in Warren County and get my license? No, you are county restricted, which now you can go anywhere in the state of Kentucky and get your driver's license if need be. So that's one thing that the Transportation Cabinet felt like they were doing a good thing with relieving those county restrictions. You can renew for 4 years or 8 years. And also in 2020, Senate Bill 2 passed, which is some of the discussion that took place at your last meeting, and that was the law requiring a photo ID to vote when it went into effect that year. And there are numerous options, which I've provided you all with some handouts tonight about the ways in which you can renew your driver's license. A packet that I hand out if anyone comes to the courthouse and inquires about driver's license, they get this packet, and it's got everything they need to know about processes. Security hands them out upstairs if they catch them before they come down to the office. So, but Senate Bill 2, that did talk about the voter ID, and there are numerous options and ways in which people can use an identification, and they're in that fact sheet that I gave you. And all that came about at the same time, so around the same in 2020. So there is a list of acceptable IDs. As you can see on the front of the lectern here, I did post a poster that shows, and on the new driver's license, just a standard driver's license, it says not for real ID purposes, which means you cannot board a plane or go into a federal facility. Some federal facilities, mainly military bases, and possibly some buildings in Washington, D.C. But that's what it states on there. It doesn't state that it's not for voting purposes. It's as good as you can even use your work badge if it's got your picture on it. There's a multitude of documents that you can use for voter identification. So by the end of February, 93 circuit clerk's offices will have been transitioned. And as I said, there are 3 ways in which you can renew your driver's license. Many of you may have got one of these cards in the mail. There was one sent to every household. We've done the Transportation Cabinet has tried very hard to get the word out, and I understand not everybody watches TV or listens to the radio, but I would think somewhere along the way through one of these avenues, hopefully the word has gotten there. But when individuals call our office, we do everything possible to help them. I have made appointments for individuals to go to the regional office. I have renewed license online for people, and I have faxed or emailed in the paper application, which you guys have a copy of as well. I'm a public servant, and I'm here to serve the people. I'm not here to make something more difficult. It was not my choice. This was something that was coming, and a lot of it was pushed because they didn't want individuals to have to go to one location and say get a real ID and go to another location to get just a standard operator's license. And then somewhere along the way, someone would eventually say, well, you didn't give me what I wanted when they went to the airport. And so now it's in one central location where that's their total focus is driver's license. They've got all the authority to push the buttons to clear anything that needs to be cleared. When I've had individuals ask, well, what are you going to do now? You don't have driver's license. We are busier than we've ever been in the court work. We have 3 courts that we manage daily: family court, circuit court, and district court. And not to say crime is major here, but these guys keep us pretty busy. And not only here in Barron County, but we get stuff from all across the state because someone from Barron County may have gotten arrested in LaRue County. Well, that paperwork comes back here. So we've got plenty to do. And the circuit clerk's office is a office of the administrative office of the courts, the judicial branch office. So therefore, that's why it did make the transition here in Kentucky to make it adaptable more difficult, because as I said, we don't have a DMV form of model that we do that. So just a few little stats online. As of to date, over 85,000 Kentuckians have been served with the online renewal program, and people love it. It's the easiest thing. I can sit in my pajamas and I can renew my driver's license as long as I don't have any change. Some say, well, I don't have anybody to help me. Well, if they've got a smartphone, people don't think of their smartphone as being a computer, but you can do it there. You can always probably go to the library. Someone will help them there. A neighbor, or call my office. We'll be glad to help you. And currently, there's 20 regional offices throughout the state, and the Kentucky Department of Transportation is continuing to evaluate, and access the possible locations throughout the state for additional offices. But they're just having to kind of feel their way through this. This is new to them. And they know there's probably some holes places. So they just want some time to kind of let it all settle down. By mail, it was launched in October of 21, but we did it across the street through the whole COVID epidemic. We renewed license. So we were kind of the trendsetters for this. And then the Transportation Cabinet said, well, that works pretty good. So they have implemented it in their program. And since October, when that was initiated, over 5,000 Kentuckians have taken advantage of that online renewal. There are pop-up options. The pop-ups will be coming to the communities at least 3 to 4 times a year. Our first one is next week. It's going to be at Larry B. Mitchell. Happy's going to be down there entertaining them. But unfortunately, that is already full. But I plan on being there, and if someone comes and wants some help making an appointment to maybe go to a regional location, the closest ones to us are Columbia and Bowling Green. I refer people to Columbia because it's just a little less hectic to get in and out of. So those will be happening as well. In February, March, and April, they plan to have at least 50 events planned or 50 pop-ups throughout. And just a little stat local, in 2021, my office issued about 11,000 credentials is what we issued. There have been many things to try to get the word out. as I said, PSAs from radio and TV. You've probably heard the new level of licensing. So throughout the courthouse, there's been posters, there's packets, there's slips of paper, and when we did online renewals last year, the mailer letter went out to all countywide elected officials, and the police chief got one as well. So they have tried to make it where the information is there. And I understand people, from the phone calls we get, there's still people that just don't know it's happening. But, it's a lot of the next generation, they want something at their fingertips. And we all know that. They're a tech-savvy group coming up. They don't want to have to go. But I understand we do have that population, though, that needs the assistance and needs that help in doing things differently. So that's a little bit about, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have, and I do appreciate the opportunity. But, after watching the meeting earlier this month, I just felt like I needed to come and, try to get some questions answered. And, voting is not part of my office per se. It's the county clerk that takes care of all the voting. So we did Motor Voter. We registered people to vote as part of Motor Voter Act. And then we would do the free voter ID, which you have an application there for if someone says, they want to go to the regional office and get that. That would be something they could do. But it is a confusing situation, and I don't want it to be. And I'm here to help as much as possible to answer your questions and to help the citizens of this county and anywhere else with this transition. Question?
Chris,
Yes, sir.
thanks for coming tonight and
Yes, sir.
providing us this update on the driver's license
Yes, sir.
process. And first, I'd like to clarify a couple of comments I said at the last regular city meeting. And I said your office was no longer willing to issue driver's license and ID, which is not the case, since it's no longer your responsibility to do that. So I'd like to apologize to you and your office about that driver's license comment.
Thank you.
And then, second, I said there'd be an issue with using the not-for-real ID for voting purposes. And a lot of times in politics, and you're well aware of it, words are sometimes taken the wrong way. So upon further investigation and the information you gave us tonight, that doesn't seem like it'd be an issue, not that we've ever had an issue here in Barron County.
No.
So I'd like to apologize to Helen, Ms. Birdwell, and her office for the statement about the potential voter issue, and to the community for any confusion about it. So thank you
Yeah, no
for
problem.
clarification.
Both of these bills came about at the same time, Senate Bill 2 and House
Right.
Bill 453. So, I would hope that no one would try to suppress voting. It's something that our forefathers risked their lives, and there was a lot of bloodshed for us to have that privilege. And I would sure hope, I know we hear about it in some other states, and we hear some major horror stories about it. But I've never experienced it here in Barron County, and I hope I don't in the future. So, any other questions?
One more question.
Yes, sir.
I've been told, and I think it's happened, you can actually go on the phone with an elderly person, take their information. Can you not apply with the phone
Apply for,
for your regular license?
not to my knowledge. But, not to say that it couldn't, if they've got a credit card
That's
and
what-
somebody, was called in, and, I can pull the site up real easy.
We were able to call for someone because they were having computer issues.
That's
The computer
great.
would not approve, and the staff that we called, the number was extremely helpful, and we gave them debit card information on the
Great.
phone, and they mailed the individual.
Yeah, that's good. That's something that I've learned.
They were troubleshooting that for us. They were able to pull up where he had attempted to do it online.
Uh-huh.
So,
With computers, everything's traceable and marked, so That's
Thank you very
good to
much
know.
for coming. Thank you for texting me at our last meeting and
Yeah.
talking to me about
Thank
this,
you.
because it clarified a lot of information.
Yeah, because, I mean,
And I appreciate you getting it to us, and we'll get the word out to everybody.
right, and please feel free to call at any time. I mean,
I asked Secretary Gray if we could not set up a computer in the office and have somebody come in with their credit card and help them walk through it. He said, sure.
you could,
So,
yeah.
even though next week is full down there, if there's people that come in and say, well, I don't have a computer, but I want to get my license, happy if you just step up and tell them to get them on a list and the phone number, we'll see that they can get their license.
Yeah, and that's what I plan on doing, but while they're doing the pop-up, if there is someone that comes in and needs that assistance, I'm going to have my laptop there and try to help them, those that maybe walk in thinking they can do it. So I plan on being there and trying to help as much as possible. And keep, I don't want there to be any ill feelings between the transportation captain and circuit clerks. I mean, it takes everybody to get this accomplished. It takes everyone in this room educating, helping us educate, and, it's an important transition for our Commonwealth, so. And then, eventually, they've got some major things planned, kiosks possibly where you can just, wherever you might be at Walgreens, you might be at Walmart, you might be at Kroger, you might be wherever. There's a kiosk there possibly to where you can just renew your license through that kiosk. They've got some major things planned for the future, so,
Well, I don't think there's any ill feelings.
Yeah.
Jim Gray.
oh yeah, I met with,
Anything that y'all can do to help this along, that would be greatly accepted.
yes,
We're on
yes.
the right track.
We are.
Just need to get the word out.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, council.
The next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Second reading of ordinance 2022, ordinance amending the Glasgow zoning ordinance, rezoning property located in the professional park drive and the end of Krista Lane.
I'd like to make a motion, Danny, if you could forego that second reading.
We can do that. Our site votes unanimously. I'll second that.
Those that like to forego the reading for the second time, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed to that, say like sign. We can dispense with the second reading. Do I have a motion to accept this second reading? Motion Norris, second Benel.
Yes.
It'll be a roll call vote since it's the second reading.
Kirkpatrick?
Yes, ma'am.
Lowry?
Yes.
Neal? Norris?
Yes.
Trigg?
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
Benel?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes, ma'am.
The second reading passes. The next item is second reading ordinance 2022, and ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-2989, cities of Glasgow's annual budget fiscal year 7/1/21 through 6/30/22. This being the second reading.
Motion.
Have a motion not to read it by Patrick. Do we have a second? Second by Jones. All those in favor of not reading it the second time, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. It's, won't be read.
Okay.
All those, could I get a motion to accept the ordinance as voted on previously?
Motion, Lowry.
Have a motion by Councilperson Lowry and a second by Councilperson Patrick. Being the second reading, can we have a roll call vote on this one, please?
Lowry?
Yes.
Kirkpatrick?
Yes, ma'am.
Honeycutt?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes, ma'am.
Benel?
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
Trigg?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Neal?
This ordinance passes. Next item is new business, resolution 2022, a resolution authorizing and directing April Russell, Director, Office of Grant Oversight, to apply for a grant to protect the transportation cabinet.
City of Glasgow Resolution Number 2022-blank, a resolution authorizing and directing April Russell, Director, Office of Grant Oversight, to apply for a grant from Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Office of Highway Safety, to fund overtime, Lifesavers Conference, and fuel for the police department. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows, that April Russell, Director of the Office of Grant Oversight, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to make application on the city's behalf with Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Office of Highway Safety, for a grant in the amount of $35,589 to fund overtime, Lifesavers Conference, and fuel for the police department. This is a non-matching grant. Be it further resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that Harold Armstrong, Mayor of the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary in order to make application for said grant. So adopted this 28th day of February 2022. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, attest Mona Simmons, City Clerk.
Having heard this resolution, do I have a motion to accept?
Motion by Vanel.
Have a motion by Councilperson Vanel. Second by Councilperson Neal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. That resolution passes. Next item is a resolution authorizing and directing April Russell, Director, Office of Grant Oversight, to apply for a grant from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
City of Glasgow Resolution Number 2022-blank, a resolution authorizing and directing April Russell, Director, Office of Grant Oversight, to apply for a grant from Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Office of Highway Safety, Non-Law Enforcement, to fund the Child Safety Seat Program, Travel and Training for the Glasgow Police Department. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Number one, that April Russell, Director of the Office of Grant Oversight, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to make application on the city's behalf with Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Office of Highway Safety, for a grant in the amount of $21,230 to fund the Child Safety Seat Program, Travel and Training for the Police Department. This is a non-matching grant. Be it further resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that Harold Armstrong, Mayor of the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary in order to make application for said grant. So adopted this 28th day of February 2022. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, attest Mona Simmons, City Clerk.
Having heard this resolution read, do I have a motion to accept? Motion Norris. Have a motion by Councilperson Norris. Second by Councilperson Kirkpatrick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Resolution passes. Next item is resolution number 2022 a resolution authorizing and directing April Russell, Director, Office of Grant Oversight, to apply for a grant for ASAP, which applies for substance abuse prevention, to the I guess that'll double up being that much.
City of Glasgow Resolution Number 2022-blank, a resolution authorizing and directing April Russell, Director, Office of Grant Oversight, to apply for a grant from ASAP, Allies for Substance Abuse Prevention, to fund GEPB Street Crimes Needs breathalyzer. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Number one, that April Russell, Director of the Office of Grant Oversight, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to make application on the city's behalf for a grant in the amount of $400 with ASAP, Allies for Substance Abuse Prevention, to be used by the Glasgow Police Department for Street Crimes Needs breathalyzer. This is a non-matching grant. Be it further resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that Harold Armstrong, Mayor of the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary in order to make application for said grant. So adopted this 28th day of February 2022. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, attest Mona Simmons, City Clerk.
Having heard this resolution read properly, do I have a motion to accept?
Motion Lowry.
Councilperson Lowry.
Second, Vanel.
Second, Councilperson Vanel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Next item, before we read this resolution, we'll give you some insight on it. From time to time, we have to update our records with the Transportation Department of our roads, how many miles we have of roads, which roads have been accepted that they don't show, or which ones are really not city road streets or the private streets. we have to update that in order for us to get the monies where should get. And Roger Simmons has worked on that diligently for a couple of weeks, and we went over them just the other day. So what this is a list of every street and ever how many feet they are, how long, and that's being submitted to the transportation cabinet so we can get our appropriate share. And that's what this pertains to.
City of Glasgow Resolution Number 2022, a resolution conveying to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet that Area Development District personnel have obtained input and agreement from the appropriate local officials in the identification of new roads and changes to existing roads and updates thereto support the Cabinet's roadway centerline maintenance program. City of Glasgow Department of Public Works Superintendent has reviewed and made current changes as to the accuracy and completeness of the roadway centerline maintenance information provided by Barron River Area Development District, BRAD. Public Works Superintendent has reviewed lists, made changes, and changes have been approved by BRAD and agrees with the submittal of these updates. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Whereas the Glasgow City Council agrees the following roads on the attached Appendix A are part of the city road system. Whereas the Glasgow City Council agrees the following roads on the attached Appendix B are not part of the city road system. Whereas the Glasgow City Council maintains these roads on Appendix A. Now therefore be it resolved that the Glasgow City Council agrees the listed roads are on Appendix A are part of the city road system, and those listed on Appendix B are not part of the city road system. Be it further resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that Harold Armstrong, Mayor of the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is city representative for this official review. So adopted this 28th day of February 2022, Harold Armstrong, Mayor, at this Mona Simmons City Clerk. Now, I suppose if anybody wants, I'll read these roads and the distances. If you don't have any plans for breakfast. But it's not necessary normally to read those, but if you like, I will.
It's being clarified. Do I have a motion to accept this resolution?
Motion, Norris.
Have a motion by Councilperson Norris and a second. Second. By Councilperson Neal. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion, resolution passes. Roger, thanks again for all the hard work it took to get all these back and corrected again. You probably won't have to do it for 3 or 4 years, but it's done, so thank you. Next item, you have in your agenda or in your packet a person to be voted on our next meeting for reappointment to a board. So just look over that so you'll be aware at our next meeting who that is and what that's for. Plus, we've got 2 or 3 other openings and we're going to try to get some people put in there on those in the next 2 or 3 meetings. Being no other business, I have a few announcements. Our next Glasgow Saturday recycling will be Saturday, March the 5th at the Department of Public Works parking lot, 310 West Front Street from 8 until noon. This service is now being offered the first Saturday of each month. There will be a free large item drop-off March the 12th beginning at 8 a.m. and go to 12 noon at the Glasgow Regional Landfill. This event is for city residents only. When we're talking about large items, we're talking about stoves, refrigerators, washers, dryers, even, I guess, furniture wouldn't come into that, would it? Furniture will come into that too. Roger, you know what it is. You tell them.
It is mattresses, couches, chairs, drop-offs.
So anything you want to get rid of, I guess we could clean out my garage then. Thank you. Our next regular scheduled city council meeting is Monday, March 14th, here at 7 p.m. in person at Glasgow City Council Hall. Is there any other announcements that we need to acknowledge? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion for country.
Have a motion by Councilperson Kirkpatrick, second by Councilperson Neal. Thank y'all all for coming, and thank everybody that presented information here tonight. Other than being kind of presentation,
Step.
Hey, anyway, I can get see the copy of the agreement for like the rental for the police car and stuff, what we pay and stuff.
The lease agreement
Yeah.
with Enterprise? Yeah.
Okay. So I just come by there tomorrow, or?
Okay. No. We have forms that we've got to have out by March the 2nd, and we are halfway through.
Just holler at me when you get
Okay.
to me.
I can, we'll try to do it by the end of the week.
Okay, just holler at me or email me. You got my phone, you got my cell, don't you?
I think I do.
Okay, just holler at
I
me.
think I do.
Just holler at me. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you.
Hey, the first one I didn't get right. I don't know what they're doing. If we both know what we're doing, there'll never be a problem. That's right. There ain't gonna be no problem anyway.
Hey, Cody, somebody.
Yes, I will. Hey, y'all want this one?
Okay, we're walking this way.
Well, no, I'm not off time. I forgot my first meeting.
I know.
So,
Yeah, you did. We know.
so